And so the sound mixing they did with the explosions, mixed with the sounds of the infected, it's almost scary. It already is something that is confusing, and it's already something that's intense. You hear it, it feels like you're in the middle of a war, as well as an attack from these zombies that's happening. Yeah, not so mad now. Looking like a bitch. Double Toasted's 11th year anniversary party is coming up. Join us for a full weekend of live music, shows, comedy, after parties, a movie screening, and more. Get your tickets by going to dtanniversary.eventbrite.com or use the QR code right there to take you to the site and get your tickets today. And I'll be back at the Broadway Comedy Club June 27th for my own style of sit-down comedy. You'll also be doing some open mic. So get your tickets now by going to doubletoastedny.com. Use that QR code right there. Or you can go to doubletoasted.com. So years ago, I was a huge zombie fan. Still love the zombie genre, but there was one movie that came out that I love, and I love it because of the impact that it had on the genre, which we will get to in a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and look at a little bit of this movie. It feels like about 28 years since I've seen it. I used to have the DVD.
Yeah.
And also, I was really impressed with this film because it was one of the things that kind of inspired me to play around with filmmaking.
Oh,
at the time. Yeah. The movie we're talking about is 28 Days Later. I thought the zombies would come out dancing.
Zombies in the Matrix.
You want to go to the grooviest zombie party ever.
Zombie rave. Huh?
Zombie rave. Lasts for 28 days. Yeah.
Lesson 1. You never go anywhere alone unless you've got no choice.
Hello?
More will be coming. They always do.
So
it's funny, that trailer makes it look like not as good of a movie as it is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things that also is really surprising about this film and the success of this film is because a lot of people went into it thinking that even with this being still kind of early on in this big zombie genre resurgence, where zombie movies became more popular than ever, I think people looked at this and thought, just another zombie movie. But they didn't know how much of an impact and how influential this movie was going to be. And for those who don't know, let me just say, first of all, this is going to be, as most of these retro reviews are, it's been 28 years. Right? So, we're going to do a spoiler discussion. Chances are most of you have seen it, but if you haven't, or if you don't remember it and want to watch it fresh again, then you might not want to be here for this discussion. There will be spoilers in here. And the other thing with this movie is, as I said, it was something that a lot of people did not expect for this film to come in and just reinvent the genre, it says. Mm-hmm. And that is not hyperbole. This came in and just set up a whole new kind of zombie in a way. So again, we're going to go ahead and just mention this all over again, even if you have seen it. So this deals with Jim, played by Cillian Murphy, who wakes up in a hospital bed to a world that is empty, or at least London is empty. And he doesn't know what's going on until you start screaming and hollering and waking up all, not zombies, the infected. Turns out that there was an experiment that was going on to maybe try to create peace, have people be a little more calm, have people act like they got some sense. This experiment got out and it did the opposite. It was a virus that just causes rage. And if you watch the movie, you remember it was done by a bunch of animal activists who were trying to release some chimps. Those idiots. Yeah, not knowing that they, as my man said in the movie, that they were infected with rage. Yeah. And when they tore their asses up too.
Boy, howdy.
Those some angry ass monkeys, man. And as we usually have in these zombie, or in this case, infected type situations, it spreads, gets out of control, and then in this case, at least the whole I believe all of the UK or Great Britain is infected. It's kind of hinted that maybe the rest of the world is okay. But
No,
we don't
they
know.
imply that the rest of the world is also up.
Yeah,
At
but-
one point on the TV, they said, "Man, we just heard New York and Paris has the infection."
Well, believe me, I read up on this, and even at the time, I mean, it's rumors. They don't know because it's also implied that the rest of the world might be okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the things with the film where you kind of have to kind of walk away with your own interpretation or your own story of what happens with these people.
So like the sources you read said that like the character that's saying that is like not. You can't trust that source.
Yeah, because I know who you're talking about, and she's saying like, yeah, we hear that the rest of the world's infected. I will even say this much: I'm not trying to talk about the new movie, but the new movie is implying, and I might be wrong, but the new movie 28 years later is implying that, yeah, we just said, you know what, Great Britain, take care of this on your own.
You're an island, and we just let you float out there.
Yeah, because the movie also, we'll talk about this later, also implies that maybe there's a guy saying that we're quarantined, and the rest of the world.
That's right. Yeah.
Rest of the world is just saying, you know what? Y'all started. You handle it.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. Meanwhile, don't come over here with that shit. Y'all mess with the monkeys and everything, trying to make with everything calmer. Y'all end up making everybody angry, pissed off everybody. Boy, you Britons are so annoying. You created a virus called rage. You piss people off so much, you make angry zombies. With this movie, as I said, it is highly influential. A big part of the zombie genre going mainstream is because of this movie. It predates some movies out there that people still kind of get out of order. It predates the remake of Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, and it predates The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
We're talking about the comic.
Right. Yeah. And another situation where the main character wakes up in a hospital bed.
Well, a lot of people were confused about that because a lot of people say, man, look at that. 28 days later, ripping off Walking Dead. And it's like, no. So Walking Dead, it's just a coincidence. They didn't really rip each other off. Walking Dead came out a year later. I'm talking about the comic book. It was published a year later. It actually went wide 2 years later, 2004. 28 days later, it was 2002. So and nobody ripped each other off. It was just a coincidence. They've even acknowledged that.
Yeah.
Listen, we want to talk about influences, ripping off things, and who did what first. I mean, we really want to go to the roots of the zombie genre. I mean, we talking about even going before George Romero, because I brought this up before. Now, you want to talk about who influenced some zombies out there? Them Smurfs.
Oh,
Really?
right.
Yeah. The Smurfs had now before the show, the Smurfs had a comic where it was, and in the comics it was black Smurfs, and people thought it was racist. So in the cartoon, they changed it to purple Smurfs. But these purple Smurfs, one got bit by a fly, and that Smurf went around biting Smurfs on the ass and changing them into purple Smurfs also.
Really?
And they almost overran the Smurf village. Papa Smurf just by accident cured everything. They were about to go, like blue Smurfs were about to go extinct.
Kill him.
And that asshole's disguised as a blue Smurf. He painted himself. So
Okay.
So people, we're talking about even before George Romero, this was going on, but these technically, if you want to get down to it, they're not zombies. They're infected. They're not dead. There's a difference between being dead and being infected. You're still alive when you're infected. So these predate 28 days later, and these technically are infected. Bit him on the ass. They turned purple and they went kind of mindless and they went in a way and they were talking about Gnat. They even had a rage episode.
Oh, really?
Of the Smurfs.
They turn red.
Yeah. Well, their eyes turned red. There was a red root, and whatever Smurf it touched, it made them angry, gave them rage, and they just went around fighting each other.
Whoa! You're the carrot.
Rage. Yeah, they went around being angry and fighting each other, man. So listen, if you really want to get down to the no pun intended roots of this, you can go to the Smurfs for that. But that still doesn't discredit what this movie did for the genre. It really is it created not only Infected, which were again zombies that were alive and they're not dead, but also there was this big debate about slow zombies versus fast zombies, which is what you had in this movie too. That really, I don't know if you had fast zombies before, again Smurfs, but this right here really put that out there. Did you like this movie when it came out?
Yeah.
I love this movie when it came out.
Yeah,
You probably knew that.
I knew that. You wouldn't shut up about it. but I really liked this movie when it came out, but I really, really liked it rewatching it today.
Did you?
Yeah.
It felt like it was going on right now in the world, because the way that the movie opens, it's like the world is already up.
Yeah.
Everything is going nuts. There's protests going on. You don't know what's going on. It doesn't matter. But it just felt so relatable watching. And there's another thing that they bring up later that made it feel relatable.
Well, I was really taken with the shots of when Cillian Murphy, Jimmy, is walking through the empty city of London. Yeah. And having been to London to see what it's like normally, and then watching that, and I was just so like, how did they do this?
You know what?
How'd they get everybody out of the city?
I'll tell you that in a little bit, because I remember I was so obsessed with this film. I was reading up on it all the time, figuring out the little tricks and techniques that they did, because I'm going to tell you something, man. Take the zombies are infected out of this. This is just a great example of low budget filmmaking. Mm-hmm. It's using a story that fits that low budget and uses it very effectively. So one of the reasons for that is that this is also one of the best uses of digital filmmaking. This is an early adopter of the format. Danny Boyle, who's a director who did Train Spotting and The Island.
The Beach.
The Beach. I know I was going to get that messed up. And what else did he do?
Shallow Grave.
Yeah. And later on, Slumdog Millionaire and all that. A great director and always trying new things. So digital filmmaking was just kind of making its impact at the time. It was still an early stage on that. It was still in the primitive age, if you want to really get down to it. And it was shot with this camera right here. It was shot with the Canon XL1. And I remember loving this movie because I was playing around with that camera.
I remember that.
I bought that camera at the time because I was just into cameras a lot. And I still have this camera in my closet right back here. So when you watch this movie, the resolution is still really fuzzy. It's like if you watch this and look at how grainy it is.
Yeah, it's watching it on Pluto and it's super grainy.
Yeah, well, that's because it's shot on a very early digital format, and no matter what you do, there's just no way to clean that up to make it look like actual film. The movie itself looks like a tiny video blown up. Mm-hmm. If you've taken like a video that's the size of a thumbnail and tried to make it go widescreen on your computer or your TV, you know what I'm talking about.
A lot of digital distortion that really elevates the material.
Yeah.
It makes it feel real.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. In the beginning, and you were talking about this, it shows a lot of violence. And it looks like it's violence in the news. It looks televised. It looks like when you look at this, let me see if I can go to the beginning here, because it looks like it's televised violence, and when you film this on digital, it also has that same video feel, And throughout the whole movie, one of the things that makes it look like video, also besides how grainy it is that there's no blur. Mm-hmm. Everything is sharp, no matter how fast it moves. So it has that video feel that makes it look like it's real, like a documentary, like news footage. And it makes, as you said, it makes the violence, no matter how much is done with, infected and creatures and whatnot, it makes it feel like it's real. And it makes so it's a combination of walking this nightmare, dreamlike state, because the strobing adds this unworldly movement to these infected. Mm-hmm. But then it still feels like it's a little closer to home because of that video feel. So the violence it makes it, and you'd be surprised how much this is not as bloody as you think it is. It's violent, but it's not as gory as you think it is. Mm-hmm. And I will show you in a little bit, because a lot of it is very much implied violence. And we just kind of feel that it's worse because it feels like it's more realistic. It's disturbing because it feels that way. And I'll point that out in a minute. To answer your question about that whole thing about the city being empty, you know, this is London.
Yeah.
This is a major city, y'all. And they got to film this. You got little Cillian Murphy right there looking like a little dot walking through the city, and there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
So the way they did it was they filmed this before rush hour, early in the morning.
Okay.
And they had police go out there and just close off parts of the city. And it wasn't that crazy because it was no one out there that early.
It was on a Sunday also. That's what.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was an off day. So it was a day where people wouldn't be hustling and bustling.
Yeah.
I mean, I get people not hustling and bustling, but I was like, nobody, no sense of a person alive.
Well, there was
and so many different locations.
Yeah. Well, there was hardly anybody out there to begin with, but they did get help from the police to go out there and kind of rope off certain areas so they could. And they only had a limited number or a limited amount of time to do it. Yeah, it's a minimalist film. You know, small cast, real small, tight locations. And when they did have to shoot big, they shot around it smart because they couldn't afford to just rope off the city. And they
and they found clever ways to like do stuff that would be very cheap, but just aesthetically, it's breathtaking. Some of it, like one of my favorite parts is when they have all those shopping carts stacked on top of each other.
Oh yeah,
the way it's lit looks crazy, and that costs nothing to do.
Yeah, so when they did have to go big, they made sure to be wise about that and use it effectively to look like it was wider in scope than probably some movie would do in an expensive way.
Yeah,
they shot around that. They were smart about that. Again, just the ingenuity that went into this low budget filmmaker is incredible. Man, the technical things in this movie, things that it's also great because you can make a movie seem bigger. You can make a movie seem grander than what it really is simply with editing and sound. So I love again, you have to find the right story to tell for that kind of thing. And that's why this works so much, because this is a movie about chaos, about horror, it's about anger, it's about violence. A lot of the stuff that they do, really, you walk away feeling either confused or chaotic yourself. It's because they did it through editing. They're small things. I'm not talking about the big, infected attacks and all that kind of stuff. Just simple things like somebody waking up. They used like a sort of a stuttering method of editing to kind of repeat that over again to just add to the confusion that's going on with the film. You think, well, he was waking up from a nightmare. Of course they're going to get up, 3 or 4 times. No, they do that with a few other things. There's a character named Hannah. We'll talk about her in a little bit. She's one of the survivors that they run across and kind of adopt to their crew. There's a shot where somebody calls her name and she just looks over. They repeat the same shot about, 2 or 3 times. Hannah! All that is to add to the confusion of the film. It really does leave a larger impact on you. And when you work with small films, you have to do little things like that.
Sure.
In order to, you got to get creative with the technical stuff.
And that puts you right in the shoes of that character. There's a reason for that editing.
Yeah. Man, the sound mixing is great. They got a part in the climax, or not the climax, is when they meet. So if you know the story, they meet a group of soldiers.
Third act.
Yeah, third act. And they introduce that third act. Since it's the military, so they still have weapons and they still have explosions and stuff. They have mines set up. And man, there's an attack that happens with the infected. The infected is just animals now. They just growl. And so the sound mixing they did with the explosions, mixed with the sounds of the infected, it's almost scary. It already is something that is confusing, and it's already something that's intense. You hear it, it feels like you're in the middle of a war, as well as an attack from these zombies that's happening. Yeah, not so mad now. Looking like a bitch. But you know what? If I was to turn this down, and I will, I'm going to turn this particular clip down so y'all can see something here. Because if I was to turn this down, you're going to notice something. So the sound is making it probably feel bigger than what it really is. Keep in mind, this is an $8 million movie. But look at these shots. So look how close these shots are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
These are close-ups, y'all. Except for that fool being tossed across there in that screen.
We had enough to establish where they are.
Yeah.
So, as the viewer in your mind, you have a picture, and then they can do all this stuff tight.
Plus
it's pitch black.
Yeah. Well,
So-
it's the sound that also, but just when you put that sound in there, you're feeling in your head, your ears are filling in for you, making you think it's bigger than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're close-ups of muzzles, muzzles.
Flashes.
Yeah, and dudes running right in front of the camera. They're tight shots. They're not that huge. You think you're seeing a war scene. They're not that big of shots right there. I think the nature of the infected, a lot of people hadn't really seen infected like this before.
Right. This first time.
And
Because they already shambled before.
Yeah. They weren't, they didn't run up on you like these fools do. They're not slow. And chances are you ain't gonna outrun them because they so mad they don't get tired. You can set them on fire. I don't know what this infected did or this virus did to piss them off so much, but they are so angry they don't slow down. They don't get tired. That's mad for your ass right there.
Right.
But there's also like real just small creepy things that happen with the infected. When you first see them in the movie, you can't even tell exactly what they're doing. Like they're making these faces. They don't run at first. They just kind of just become alert and just look at you real crazy with this creepy look on their face.
Hello? Oh.
I love that. Yeah.
Say what? So you don't know if these people are dead or they're sleeping or they're just in this state where they're just hibernation. But you can see a couple of them perk up and look at this dude. Yeah, I mean, you don't know. This is early on in the movie.
Yeah,
you don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah, they're in a church and it looks like, all right, this is like a Heaven's Gate thing where everybody just decided to take their own life.
Yeah,
and then those two pop up and you're like, oh.
But it is scary when they attack because you don't even know why. When they do decide to start moving, they just start running up in people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know why. You don't even know why they chose that house. You don't know if you made a noise or they just don't like your house.
Let's start working on that.
This window! Fuck your house. I hate that house's face. I love it too, man. The way they just run out the woods sometimes. Because I will say, it is done to a terrifying effect through most of the movie. But sometimes they just come out of nowhere and they just cut to them like, where you come from? You're like he just took a shit in the woods and got caught.
Am I late?
like somebody caught him pissing in the woods. Hey, get out my property.
Yeah, when some naked infected start coming, like in that next shot, it's like, how did this all happen? Like,
well, the way he ran with his hands all up. You can tell that actor was being careful.
Right, right.
He wasn't trying to fall.
All right, we don't have insurance. All right, action.
Yeah, his big ass run out the goddamn woods. Like, hey, listen, I'm not supposed to be aggressive, but I ain't gonna kill myself for real.
Right.
Trip over these
There's lots of little rocks
Yeah.
and twigs down here.
You can even see it like, ow, ow, ow. So I was telling you that this is not as gory as you think it is.
Mm.
Now there's blood.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, blood splattered. There's a lot of blood covering people.
A lot of blood being vomited.
Yeah, yeah. But, you see people being torn apart. And, let me just.
Or hacked.
Yeah, or hacked. And let me get to this point by comparing this to another movie. And I don't know, maybe no disrespect, maybe I'm pulling a Julia. I don't know. For once, you could probably turn this on me.
All right, I'll let you know. I did my research on this one.
Well, I think that this movie, because I'm such a huge zombie fan, maybe I'm reading into it too much, I'll admit, but I think it has a lot in common with this movie, Day of the Dead.
Okay.
And I'll show you some things that just had me thinking about it. What you laughing about?
Because he looks like he doesn't agree. Where you going with this, Corey?
You're full of shit. Don't you ever talk about Julian again? So there's a lot that happens that has a lot in common with Day of the Dead. I don't know if it's coincidence. I don't know if it was influenced by that. I'm not even trying to say it ripped it off, anything like that. Again, maybe they just, it's a coincidence. But like when they kind of open up with a similar feel. You got characters in a deserted area yelling hello to try to find somebody while the music is amping up. That's a very classic scene from the beginning of Day of the Dead. And if you're a fan of the Gorillaz, you've heard that song too, or that sample used in the song by them. But then kind of have the same thing when Jim is walking through the empty city and you can hear this music slightly amping up, a little quieter than the clip I showed you. And he's also yelling hello, looking for survivors. No! Now, our air conditioner's on, so we probably can't hear, but there is music that's kind of ramping up in the background as he's doing that. Also, you got the evil military guys. That third act is very much. Have you seen Day of the Dead?
I don't think I have.
Day of the Dead, man. If the third act really kind of follows the third act of 28 Days Later, kind of follows the third act of Day of the Dead.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because the military guys, the evil military guys, get their asses obliterated, torn up. They get ripped apart because all the zombies are, like it usually happens in a zombie movie. Somebody left the back door open, or somebody left, like they open the door, like, come on in, and the zombies come in and tear everybody's asses up. And that happens in this movie. And Day of the Dead, the part I'm probably talking about. This also has its own, what happens at the end of 28 Days Later. That zombie goes through and just starts tearing people's asses up. Yeah. But speaking of that zombie, so that zombie is called Mailer. And you see him at the beginning chained up because they want to study him, see what's going on with these infected, how long it takes them before they die or starve to death.
Meet Mailer. Mailer? Jim. Jim. Mailer.
Like, what the?
That's such an honest reaction to like grab his arm and hide behind him.
Like, have you ever been to somebody's house and that dog was aggressive and ran up on you? You're like, man, get your damn dog off me. In this movie, they have so that's 28 Days Later with Mailer. And Day of the Dead, they have a zombie that they keep chained up called Bub. And Bub doesn't really, it's Bub, right, y'all? That Bub doesn't really, he doesn't really go around tearing everybody up, but he does kind of like tell the zombies, there's a.
That's a gas station zombie, I think.
No, that's probably,
Land of the Dead, I think.
That's Land of the Dead. But what was the character's name in Day of the Dead? Anyway, they have a captive zombie that's a little smarter that they hold for study, and he ends up just kind of, seeing the tables turn on the military guys. But here's why I'm making this comparison, because the being digital with 20 Days Later and also being sort of minimalist, it makes 28 Days Later, I think, feel more brutal. With this right here, this is heavy on gore, and that's the point of Day of the Dead. They relish the effects. They have fun with the effects. As gruesome as they are, you can look at them and tell it's over the top, and they're just having fun with it. But that's kind of the focus of the movie. How gory can we get with these kills? For 20 Days Later, when you have an attack that happens, it doesn't. It feels like it's implied. You don't really, you see somebody get attacked close up. Let me see if I can find an example of that. And you see them clawing somebody to death. You see them ripping at somebody, but you don't really see guts being thrown everywhere. No. You don't see that person being ripped open alive. It's our minds are actually filling in a lot of things here.
Realistically, you couldn't still be alive while things are tearing you apart.
Oh, hell no.
The shock just from it was severing the lower half would have taken him out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. They just tickle fight with that dude. But you don't see them ripping him apart.
Yeah.
But I would tell you right now, that probably seems more brutal than that scene where they were actually tearing that guy up in Day of the Dead, because that's comical.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm going to show this scene. I'm not trying to relish in the gore here or anything. But as Martin said, this guy, he makes a joke about it. Choke on him. That's something that's done almost for a laugh. When you see that there, when you see his bottom being dragged across the floor, that's ridiculous. This right here, it seems more visceral. It just seems to get to you more because it seems like it's a little close to reality. With that format that's being shot in digital, it's a little close to reality.
Yeah, in the example you showed, that's like forced. They're really trying to be like, look at that. But in this, things just happen, and it just has that feeling of like we just happen to catch this on camera.
Yeah, a realistic tone is always more brutal. It just affects our mind a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's why this movie was so effective too. I was surprised at how much I loved this movie in the past, and just watched it gleefully. And today I watch it, I'm like, man, this is a depressing and sometimes it's a really hard movie to watch.
Uh-huh.
It's incredibly symbolic, like the whole time.
When you see somebody die in this, if it seems more brutal, the death has more of an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that something like Day of the Dead is wrong, where you can just laugh off somebody's death. I'm just saying, this is a hard movie to watch because of the realistic intensity behind it. That gets to some of the villains in the movie. I forgot, man, I used to love this movie, and I forgot a big part of it. I forgot just how bad these assholes were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did not, and I knew this was going to be bad. I finally started coming back to me because you had a bunch of military dudes, all dudes. Mm-hmm. You got two women who show up. I'm like, oh, this is a bad combination right here. Mm-hmm. And I had forgotten about the reveal. And I'm so glad that I hadn't seen this movie in so long. That reveal hit me probably harder than it did when I saw it back in the day. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's not because so these guys are rapists. They're trying to create a sex camp of women. So this guy, so the reveal was, he was putting out a call, the general here, who's played by Christopher Eccleston, who's very good, man. I love the speech he delivers because he put out this call saying, hey, we have the cure for infection. We have food. We have shelter and safety. Just come find us. And the moment they got there, like, oh, no, y'all ain't up to no good. And that reveal hit me when he said it.
We fight off the infected or we wait until they starve to death. And then what? And I promise them women. Because women mean a future.
See, and I like how cool he was being at first, but the moment that Jim ran off, he's like, oh, no.
Right. Well, the thing that got me is that they're such frat boys that they couldn't even wait. Like these women are barely there, and they're already like, let's get to it.
Hell yeah.
I was like, you don't want to let them like get comfortable and feel like, all right, maybe this could work. Like, no, we're doing this whether you want to or not.
Oh yeah, like the one guy, hey sweetheart, you don't need anybody else. I'll protect you.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, you the main one.
Mm-hmm.
Get your hands on a really big shot. You just come and see me. Easy, Tiger. You want to go pick a fight with me, son?
And even then, that guy tried to come in and be a white knight, like, oh, you can get your ass whooped too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great way to describe them, frat boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would,
you're thinking like, oh, they're military, they're disciplined, they're respectful, and it comes down to it, just a bunch of frat boys.
I think that the writing is so good that it even has, this has the same theme as some zombie movies out there, but it even rises above that, having that same theme, which is old by the time we even get to this movie right here.
Is it?
Well,
because to me, this is the first thing that kicked off that, yeah, the zombies are bad, but the people are worse.
George Romero did that.
Okay.
Yeah, George Romero did that with his zombie trilogy. It's when you had Night of the Living Dead and they would turn against each other in the house. You ever seen Night of the Living Dead? They were the worst of humanity was coming out. He made a big message with Dawn of the Dead. You know, we're all just mindless consumers, you know. So George Romero always did these movies with some theme on there. And Day of the Dead already had tackled this theme of, the military are shitty people, but all people are shitty, you know. But I think what's so great about this is that the theme of, yes, man is worse than the zombies. It's nothing new. Most zombie films reflect us, as I just said. But I do think it's kind of scarier here because, again, I keep saying zombies, but these are not traditional dead zombies. Right. These are infected. They're still alive. They're just really, really angry. And, you know, when you watch the opening of this movie, it just shows you that, man, we're all infected. You know, this virus just heightened it. You know, when we watch the beginning of the movie, again, like I said, it looks like news footage. And we're acting just as bad as anybody who's infected. You know, and I'm wondering, I'm sure that Danny Boyle shot this because it's some rough stuff that's going on, but it happens in real life.
Sure.
You know, that's such a great way to open up this movie. Yeah, infected shit. We were already sick.
Well, you see why they were working on a cure. Yeah. It's unfortunate that it went the opposite way.
See what that was never going to go right.
Because some Greta Thunberg asshole ran in there going, I'm saving the animals.
Boy, that monkey tore her ass up too. At the beginning of the movie, listen, I think the beginning of the movie is great too in that setup because they do show these animals being experimented on, being in these torturous situations. And you do, like, I was kind of thinking like, yeah, this is horrible what they're doing. I kind of root for these people a little bit. But then they didn't listen to that dude that came in. He's like, man, y'all don't know what the hell are doing. Stop. He's like, ooh, I can't wait to tell y'all this. So, let her open it up. Let us go, man.
Like, okay, listen to him for just a second and look at these chimps. You see that these are not regular chimps. Yeah. It is too late to rescue them.
Yeah.
Infected with what?
I love that line.
Rage. Rage. And the animals are contagious. The infection is in their blood and saliva. One bite.
That act is so good because I was with the activists at first. I was like, yeah, let them go, man. This is horrible. And then when he came in there, I was like, man, y'all better listen to this dude.
Yeah, exactly.
He works here and he's terrified.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe if he had just said Ebola, they might have been like, oh, okay.
Rage. That sounds like some bullshit.
Stop! You've no idea!
Get the goddamn fuck out of me.
The thing I thought was funny, it was like, an uninfected chimp would have done the same thing.
Rip her face off.
Yeah. And you know, that monkey, for having rage, he was actually being nice.
Right.
He left your nose and eyes and lips intact. Shit.
They didn't try to tear off your hands or your genitals.
Yeah, that'd been you better be glad he was infected. A non-infected chimp would have tore that face up, had your ass looking like Skeletor when it was done.
Yeah. Get him off me. Like, no, that's what you wanted.
She changed her tune real quick. Yeah. We gotta save him. Get this off me! Fuck him! Get this monster off me! The hell these chimps!
Kill them all!
Boy, he leaving a hickey on her neck.
Oh, girl, you know you want this.
You know, this man, I was talking about how this movie is so depressing. And again, I still enjoy it. I like it a lot. I just feel more depressed watching it. And I think that the movie realizes how depressing it can be at times and how dark it is. And so I really do think the script did a good job at giving you these little small moments of relief.
Yeah. Moments of relief and an optimistic ending.
You know, you have a cab driver, Frank, and his daughter, and Brendan Gleeson plays the cab driver.
I forgot that was him in this.
He's so good in this.
I forgot he was in this too, man. I completely forgot that he was in this until this moment. And I almost didn't recognize him in this role right here. I thought it was a dude that looked like him. And I'll tell you why.
So, I'm Frank anyway, Jim. This is my daughter, Hannah. Come on, sweetheart, say hello.
We got company. I didn't know it was Brendan Gleeson because he's happy.
I was going to say the same thing. He's happy. Usually in most roles, he's pretty aggressive.
Man, he's always cranky. And yeah, he's always mad, cranky. And that's how I knew he was going to die. Because I forgot about his character. I said, you know he's going to get infected because he's got to get cranky. You got to get mad about. Listen, if his character don't start out as cranky, he's going to get that virus one way or another because he's always mad in movies. And that's what I was talking about earlier, man. You know,
in Harry Potter, his name is Mad Moody.
Yeah, exactly. I said, shit, in most movies, he is the infected. He just mad. So you know he gonna get sick in this and start going up on people. And that scene that they did, again, you know, that's what I'm talking about. They do such a great job at bringing these people together. They bonded, and then they give you the tragic moment where one of them has to die. And then Brendan Gleeson, you know, like I said, it's almost in his contract. I got to get mad at some point. So you knew he was going to catch that virus. And it was kind of a cool way and really a heartbreaking way. It's
funny because we talk about how mad he wasn't. It's the one time he got mad that messed him up.
Yeah, shit. He went over there and got mad at a fence, a crow, and kicked a fence. And if you remember the movie, yeah, it's Martin's right. If he had calmed his ass down, he would still be here today. By the way, you had time to turn away, so that's on you. Looking at that blood drop in his eye.
Well, it's slowing things down, but you wouldn't have. It's like,
you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it.
What's that right there? Oh, shit.
Dad, are you all right? Dad?
Keep away from me!
Dad?
Keep away from me! Keep away from me!
Dad!
I remember watching this, and I was like, first of all, it's he's infected with rage, so that's one thing. He's also Brendan Gleeson, so that means he's extra mad. Yeah, but that was rough seeing, you know, that him and his daughter was so close, and he was so nice.
Yeah,
I was like, man, that is heartbreaking. Yeah, very much.
And that scene is like right after like the big happy set piece.
Yeah.
Like I noticed one other scene of levity in this movie, but like that's like really the only like levity in the film is the scene before it at the grocery store.
When they're shopping at the grocery store.
I love that scene. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I agree with that. But you know, this whole theme of violence that's in the movie, man, I like the way it all climaxes with Jim, because the movie starts with Jim being real weak and malnourished, mentally weak. You know, he doesn't know this world.
Right. And when he finally has to kill a kid, he's affected by it.
But I think that's the tipping point for him too, because it's that first kill that kind of pushes him to being, don't Jim at the end.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh no, Jim goes all the way off at the end.
He turns into
Yeah, you know, that was a turning point from being weak Jim to being, you know, badass Jim later on in the movie. He finally made his first kill. Mm-hmm. So after that, then he killed a kid.
Yeah, but he took a long time to do it.
Yeah.
Stepping on him. And this is juxtaposed to Selena, who with her partner, the moment she saw he turned, she wasted no goddamn time.
He was like, wait.
She said, I'll do it in a heartbeat. I was like, that was a lot faster than a heartbeat. The heart didn't have a chance to beat. It was like, oh, machete, whack.
Yep.
So anyway.
I was going to say, though, when I was watching this last night, someone pointed out to me that kid, you look at him, he got Bugs Bunny teeth.
Oh, I know somebody called him Rat Boy.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah, that's why I call him Rat Boy. With Jim, man, you know, he kills that kid and he crosses over. So I think the movie does something clever. You got meek Jim, who all of a sudden becomes violent, but they start to, with him, they do little clever things to blur the line between infected and just being really, really pissed off at that moment. Because as we mentioned, the military, they want to put these girls into sex slavery for these guys just to rape over and over again. And so Jim escapes being executed by two of the soldiers when he tried to like warn Selena, who was the girl that he's with, and Hannah, who's the daughter of Frank, Brendan Gleeson's character. So he's trying to go warn them. Of course, they find him and they take him out back, and they're gonna try to execute him. And he ran. And at that moment, he was just, Jim was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Jim was You know,
he became an animal.
Yeah, he became infected. He became like the infected. They do little things in here. So in the movie, they do little things.
He became the Punisher.
Yeah. Well, they do things in the movie where they show you how the infected kind of sneak around, like or the camera teases them like they do in a horror movie. They start treating Jim the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Jim starts like doing that damn slasher blur, like, you know, passing in front of the screen, and the guys are like, "What was that?" So yeah, he's becoming like the infected. I think the movie's, you know, they're trying to make that point again. We are not that far from, just because we have a virus doesn't mean anything. We want to become like the infected. We want to have rage. We'll become like them.
It's like he learned from them.
Yeah. He became buddies with Mailer.
Yeah. And what's really cool about that is when you first see that blur, you don't even know what that is. You think it is an infected.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only scene of real gore, and it's not real gore, it's just a kind of a, you know, it is kind of a gore effect.
Graphic.
But yeah, it's graphic. Yeah, the most graphic thing, the most brutal attack in the movie. Because I keep bringing up how you don't see too much, you see violence, but you don't see too much gore or anything. But the moment you see something close to that, or you want to count it as gore, it's not done by the infected. Shit, it's done by Jim. Mm. When Jim put that dude on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Put gouges his eyes out. That dude was like, that wasn't a scream. That was a shrill. That was a squeak. I remember I used to laugh at that. Now look, I was like, Jesus, that is kind of funny, but it's horrible.
But it's mitigated by the fact that guy deserved it probably more than everybody.
I remember laughing when I saw it because of that scream. And I remember being a little more horrified by it. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, no, he had a little bass in his voice before.
Yeah.
Hey, darling, come here. I'm gonna protect you. Shit, Jim got the minds.
Because most of those other soldiers seemed like they were just going along just because they're grunts. He was especially aggressive and down with the plan.
Oh, he was the lead one.
Yeah.
It was probably his idea. Besides that, because the ending is very visceral. But I will say, if I had a criticism, maybe they meant for this to happen. I laughed at most of it. I still love this movie, but I wasn't feeling the intensity as much as I wasn't early in the movie as I was early in the movie, because I was just laughing at some things. So you just heard me mention that Jim, you know, he's become like the infected now. Now he's best friends with them.
Sure.
Mainly, he's like, yeah, you know, let my people go.
He supposed to talk to Mailer before he let him out. He's like, man, that's wrong what they did.
Yeah, keeping our people in chains like slaves. Nah, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, he looked at him like, yeah, brother. Yeah, thank you.
Looking up at him like he's Batman.
Yeah, you and me, brother. I'm gonna tear y'all asses up.
I heard something.
See, like I laughed when from the moment he started attacking, I just started laughing at the way they set these things up.
They're dead. And you're gonna be next.
Pick up. Man, he's for me. Even his mouth is in that shit.
He punched his ass. I laughed so much at the way they set up some of these things, man. Thing is that, so he just starts chasing people through this mansion, because that's where the soldiers are holed up in. They found this mansion in there. And it's funny because since they're in the mansion and they have zombies running around or infected, whatever, it now becomes a combination of Resident Evil and Scooby-Doo. Because
going in and out of the room.
Yeah, because it gets comical, man. Because most of the soldiers start turning into bitches, you know. This is the funniest part of the movie to me. When that dude ran across the screen, the screen screaming. Do you remember that? Like he saw.
Oh yeah.
He saw that big infected black man running through the house, and he ran out that room, hooping and hollering. That like what?
There's a lot of tension at that point. I don't know what's going on.
Well, also, like, what the hell is wrong with him? This bitch ass.
Oi! What's that about?
Oh, you heard that? You thought it was one of the women. I see the mix up here.
Sounds like a screaming goat.
I kind of wish that there was no sequels, even with this next movie looking pretty promising, because I feel like this is a movie that really did tell its whole story.
Oh, it totally did.
Very well.
Yeah.
You know, it gave hints that the infection was only in the UK. I really love that scene where you have Jim lying on the ground right here. And this is after he was with another soldier. And the soldier was talking about, I have a theory that it's just happening here. We're being quarantined. The world has just cut us off. And you're kind of thinking like this guy's just rambling because he's in an intense situation and his mind is just kind of gone. But then Jim falls on the ground, looks up, and he sees a plane going by. And
yeah, he's like, okay, unless the infected have gone to flight school, there are some people out there who are normal.
Yeah. And also, you know, you show the zombies, it's kind of coming to a resolution. The zombies are starving themselves to death. I love that too, because he was like so hungry. Should have been around. Like on they show one is like he's just tired. Like all of them they whatever they were mad about, they're just exhausted now. Yeah. Whatever he was mad about, it don't matter now.
I'm still mad, but
it ain't
I'm
worth
too
it.
weak to get up.
Hey, I'm gonna settle down, act like I got some goddamn sense.
Those looks on their face, I think that points to good direction because, like, you don't really know why they have that fish out of water look in their face, but it works. It's very effective.
I just got through doing some really good heroin. Oh, yeah, that's the stuff. And also, the movie ended with some hope.
Yeah,
you know.
I thought it was going to end way more than it did.
I was like, man, this is. I remember even watching it back in the day. I was like, you know, this is fun, but it's rough. I mean, it's ended on nowhere. At least there's something.
Something, yeah. Wait, come back.
You know, and it ends with people smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with saying that, you know, the world is not possibly messed up. It's just it's self-contained here. They were able to quarantine it. So hopefully they'll get some rescue.
Well, they look clean and fresh.
Yeah.
Smiling.
So fresh and so clean.
So they got at least something going on to sustain themselves.
Yeah. There is an alternate ending, I heard, where he dies.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do think I remember reading that where he dies in the alternate ending. But this was a better ending.
This is better.
Yeah. And listen, if we go by what's going on with the sequels now, I think, so in part 2, 28 weeks later, they do show you that it has spread to at least parts of Europe. Mm-hmm. They show the infected running to the Eiffel Tower, top of the Eiffel Tower down. He's mad at the tower. Look at that Eiffel Tower. And I heard rumor that the third one says, it is pretty much self-contained. No.
Oh, it was contained. Okay.
Whatever happened. Because I read an article where they were saying maybe they need to explain what happened with Paris because it does feel like, or it sounds like Great Britain is the only thing that's infected and they've quarantined them off and shut them off again. So I don't know.
Interesting.
But, yeah, we'll see. Who knows?
We'll find out this week.
Yeah. But I don't know. I know you got some things to add to this discussion.
No, I mean, pretty much hit on everything. The only thing that we didn't really talk about is, like you mentioned, like that the script is brilliant. And I think that one of the coolest things about this is that Danny Boyle knows when to just let the image speak for itself. Mm-hmm. Like the first thing we learn about Jim that makes him so mysterious is like he walks by the camera and you see this big ass scar on his head.
Yeah.
You know, and that really just makes you think because like zombies, when you get to the root of it, it's an infection like in the brain. So like seeing that, it makes you ask a lot of questions.
Well, they explain what happened to him.
Yeah.
he got hit by a car. He was a
bike messenger.
Yeah, he was a bike messenger.
And that was another thing that I love, just like having a brilliant excuse to have him have amazing endurance. It's like, there's a reason why you don't know how long he's been out laying in bed, but his legs work because he's running all the time.
Yeah.
And I love how they set up like for him to have a weapon in the beginning and you're not even thinking about it, where he's getting the plastic bag filled with a cans of soda. Because that's like the first moment of levity. He makes that Pepsi look delicious in that moment when he picks it up.
He spends half this movie hopped up on sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because that's all they got. Candy bars and soda.
Yeah.
They've been thriving off of vending machines.
I think that this movie's a masterpiece. Like it's about as perfect as it gets, and it went on to influence. And I looked this up before I said this. It went on to be one of the biggest influences for The Last of Us. Like, and there's tons of stuff in here, like where the creators are like, yeah, we directly pulled from.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that.
But definitely.
You're not. I mean, you're still crazy, but no.
But what's funny is that it's gone full circle because Danny Boyle came out and said that The Last of Us inspired 28 years later.
Wow,
which you can see, and it's cool that is done full circle.
That is cool. Yeah,
I'd give it a better than Sex though. 10 out of 10 movie, masterpiece.
Yeah, I think it's one of those movies where, after looking at the impact that it's had, and just how ahead of its time that it was, it's still successful. I think I would go with it better than Sex too, man. I mean, this it didn't create the genre, but it changed it.
It reinvented it.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not here to really give ratings. I'm just here to just talk about the movie. But I love the film. And it's still, you got to keep in mind that it's one, because of the story that it's telling, because of the format that it's in, it's one of the few movies that kind of holds up with that.
It does.
Because for any other movie, if this was another story told, if this was a drama, or if this was something, that was less extreme. Yeah, exactly. It probably wouldn't stand up as well. But the graininess really adds to this.
Well, but just so much about it is it's tight. Yeah. And it stays on topic for what it is, but there's so many dimensions to it, so many things to think about, just the implications of this world, things they pull in, so many philosophical aspects to it.
Yeah.
And even where it goes in that third act, it's not something you see happening, but it's like, oh shit, we're doing this now. And now here's this other threat, but the main zombie infected threat still comes back in, and they're woven together. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I couldn't have been more impressed rewatching it.
Yeah, that's another thing. They always make you feel sorry at one point. Like, these things are crazy, but you do when you see.
When you see Mailer chained up, you're like, come on, you gonna put him out of his misery or what?
Yeah. First of all, y'all. Ain't a good look chain up a black man.
Right.
Which is definitely on purpose.
Yeah. And then, put him out of his misery. They even had that scene where because he's sick. They had that scene where he's actually throwing up. Yeah. I like the moment he tried to have sympathy for him. Yeah, look. Let's see here.
Have him teach.
It's like, come on, man. Just kill him. This is inhumane itself.
Also, at the point where Brendan Gleeson turns, first he's this and then the soldiers pop up and light him up.
Yeah.
And it just made me go, how long were they just watching this whole scene play out?
Yeah.
Just the whole time, like, all right, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And,
well, they were going to definitely protect the women, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's some brilliant writing for this movie right here, man. And on top of the writing, there's a lot of just brilliant technical ingenuity that goes with it. It's just everything hits. It was the perfect movie for this format, this early age of digital cinema. The digital cinematography. Our phones today take better video than what they use as camera for, and it's funny because they're going to be using some phones in the next movie.
Yeah, you saw that rig that they made with like 27 iPhones.
Yeah, it was like 20 iPhones all stacked together on some kind of rig,
like a semicircle.
Yeah. So, but it comes it's come a long way, but this is one of those movies where it's, it's everything, even the primitive format just fits perfectly together. So that's why this has been able to stand the test of time. So I love this. And I really want to see the world expand. It's funny because this movie's so good that I don't want to see it go anymore. But then, all right, let's see where it goes. If you can tell a good story. And Danny Boyle's back to direct this one, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so
I'd be curious what you'd think of 28 Weeks Later. Maybe you'll, I know you're busy, but that would be an interesting one for you to check out now. Especially because you don't remember it. Yeah,
I don't remember a whole lot from it. I didn't remember a whole lot about this movie, but maybe I'll go back and give it a chance too, especially with this new movie coming out to see how all this is going to connect. So anyway, would you look at that? You made it to the end of the video. That means you really like us. So just go ahead and press that like button and subscribe while you're at it. And check out our other channels, our social media like Instagram, TikTok, and our Patreon where we have new stuff coming up all the time. And we'll see you on the next video.